Ifri Clement Kwao on South Odoko Estate. Osi again is the president's promise of building 350 new schools into bracket from scratch on course. I would like to know the locations and stages of completion of these schools if available.
Obi, so I promise, have you seen it in the manifesto?
Not in the manifesto, but there are records to show he made
in the 2016 election.
In 2012, I think Honorable
and until the election be a manifesto econo. In the 2016 election, I am not aware said this is part of our commitments on education. In the 2016 election and in the manifesto, when you saw a copy of the manifesto here, you can pull it up for us. But in
the manifesto, in the
2016,
what make that promise?
In the 2016 election,
yes.
That's here. Fanny said 2016 election, yeah, Yakoye, NDC for make some promises and commitments. And finally says some years down the line, the NDC comes to power. Are you going to hold them to the promises they made in the 2016 election, which they didn't win? I don't think so. Until the commitments are there 2016 mono and no ena ye ni edi eche abribia ye make isika available to ensure that it sees the light of day.
But that promise was made. Linking it to free senior high school. Say ye be implementing free senior high school to make it feasible. No, ye buy you basically 350 new senior.
That commitment remains. The commitment to expand senior high school infrastructure remains, and Mamincho, how we have executed that commitment. So Bekaya, just a few weeks ago, Parliament approved $1.5 billion for GET Fund to complete outstanding senior high school expenditure. And Maminfa Bibi Nyamfaton, Ubamia me constituency, Oko Achima Yiribia, your school be your friend ISEC, Urakufofi Science Resource Center, ASE, in about 2008. Fufi Antuata, Lufia Kunyanaso. GET Fund project.
Yes.
10 years down the line, that project no akenwuram. Indeed, time our man penny mahama back campaign we hold. School for no bochi nkube blockade school kwano. Ebisa ne se na dan no ye hu den. No se omoma DC any headmaster emran kran emran bi DHA. So only Deputy Education Minister ka se obeka che odebia se abribia GET Fund adan sa na do na ka wuram we see has a contractor na fi site near there. So we have several of these projects. The commitment is to expand education infrastructure. Indeed, obeka tama ye pushy free SHS argument. The response from the NDC was that infrastructure first. Into Omomsi Ombesi 200 community senior high schools. That was that year in 2012. Ombesi 200 community senior high schools to accommodate students. Here in 2016, they say we will redefine basic education to let it include senior high school, and we'll make sure that it is free, which is what we are doing. Now, to ensure, say, congestion problem, okay, enough space. That's why we've approved about 1.5 billion cedis for GET Fund. GET Fund has received approval to do a paper to raise $1.5 billion rather, to use to complete outstanding senior high school infrastructure. Matthew Poku Prempe, any Minyanumomo Education Ministry, or Dr. Duchum, any Professor Yanka, Momo Bomb Homodin to ensure, say, working through Minya Penny Bako GET Fund, Bodu, Ombetime making those resources available so that they will work towards completing the outstanding infrastructure. Into the commitment to improve infrastructure at the senior high school level remains, and this is how we are going through on that commitment.
I remember, sir, that the president time Anamo launched 2016 manifesto. In the speech or deliver Eka said onimsa politicians make promises to win power. But no promise Bia will be making for him a sacred until all can be Bia on to me enye. I would refer you to my Joy Online story. Dated 7th March 2016. 7th March 2016, where NPP to build 350 senior high schools if party wins 2016 elections. About with a picture of Nana Komia. Or say the NPP says it will build 350 day senior high schools from 2017 if the party wins power in this year's general elections. The construction of 200 day senior high schools was a major component of the governing NDC's campaign message brought to the 2012 polls. But the NPP has criticized the government for failing to deliver on that promise. And it goes on to say, okay, and this is a quote from Nana Akomia, Ana Oye NPP Communications Director. Or say, This whole idea of John Mahama saying I'll build 200 schools was in reaction to Nanado's plan to build 350 day schools as part of the free SHS agenda. So John Mahama also brought this thing that I am also going to build schools. It wasn't part of their initial plan. And occur further to say when the party wins power, Omonobesi 350 days. When this is for 2016, and in fact, producers Amamen who said there is this voice from Nanado himself, ENTA 912.
We plan a rapid and vigorous development of educational infrastructure in the first 18 months of the next MPP government. This will involve the building of 350 new senior high schools from scratch, whilst rehabilitating and expanding existing ones. Since these schools will be spread across the length and breadth of our country, this construction activity will immediately lead to an explosion of employment in all districts of our country.
Ekusi say on Asempa FM.
And the voice of Nanado Danko Akufo-Addo. Kojo.
Who's all kind of beside said, did you find it in our manifesto?
For 2016?
Yeah, that's the question I asked you. And the reason for which I make that point is so here a memoir yebuya first over power. I think if you read article 36.5, it says you pick your manifesto and then we convert it into a medium-term development program. And nona afibia uyisika if you budget mo ediye. Now, if you listen to the clip that you played, even though you don't find it in the manifesto, the president talks at the time, he talks about a commitment to improve infrastructure. And he says that we have to rehabilitate what already exists, and then he has a commitment to build 350. But the manifesto that we have on the table speaks specifically of funding senior high school education as a means to expanding basic education, primarily. And only the immediate focus that we are going on. Now, in fulfillment of that general commitment to improve infrastructure, and Amakacho said we have made available through Get Fund $1.5 billion to start the commencement of rehabilitating all of these abandoned senior high school projects and infrastructure that you see all over the place. And for me, I don't even see much of a discrepancy. It is not in the 2016 manifesto. I'm not aware it's in the 2016 manifesto. What is in it is what we are following. And in addition to that, we've made 1.5 billion available. They started the rehabilitation. No? I'm sure if by the time you are done with it, there's really no need to construct a bit more. We will say that let's construct just because there was a commitment that was made by the candidate at the time. So we should expand infrastructure, starting with rehabilitating and building about 350 extra. We will say
so the commitment was in 2012 from Nanado.
I agree. But if you read Akomia makes the point to say in 2012 Yakasi BC 350 no and now Mahama Kasi BC 200 and that commitment remains. Commitment to expand infrastructure remains, and then as we are in power, we are following through that commitment with about 1.5 billion.
350.
We are following through the commitment to expand infrastructure, about 1.5 billion made available to the senior high school infrastructure program. And I make a choice if indeed by the time we finish this expansion program, now hear the numbers in the senior high school, it is not necessary to build 350. I'm not sure you'll be even asking us by force in 350. So for me, the big things are two. Improving the infrastructure, expanding the infrastructure, which as we have agreed is ongoing. Yeah, we say they are not can 10 years. Yeah, my president Abibiano in fulfillment of that commitment. And then as a second step to ensure say Akwalebia or qualified Biano in an opportunity to get into those institutions.
The producer Sam Amate said the voice clip from Nanado was in 2016 final rally at trade fair, and Nanado make that particular promise 18 months 350. But who can say a commitment to expand infrastructure in the area 350 but mobile schools.
The commitment is twofold: to expand infrastructure at the senior high school level, which today you are seeing take place. I've given you my personal example. I've also given you the example of about 1.5 billion that has been made available to do it across the various places where schools be akeka in Wurem If by the time we are done, indeed we still have to build 350 more, though it is not in the manifesto. He's a man who is committed to his word. He will follow through on it. If by the time we are done, really the infrastructure we have at the time does not require us to go build 350 extra, we will not be debating still we should build it. The two things we are measuring will be: one, is there enough infrastructure? Two, and Kwalana air qualify now, they having an opportunity to get into senior high school with the cost barriers taken out of it. And I believe that these two parameters.
For the making one thing that stand out, say into your china, say basa campaign season a kick started. Na politicians na platform be also can be am I I just said your manifesto.
Cancer. I mean, you will find general commitments that are expressed, but you find it in fine print in a manifesto, which you can hold them to account for. Now, what you watch out for, and they say, has the policy position shifted? Has it changed? Has the commitment changed? If the commitment has not changed, and if indeed, and then watch what he's doing on education. Now, quite clear, say he's committed to expanding education infrastructure. He's committed to every Akwalebia or pass getting into the schools. I'm not sure you have an argument with him. But of course, the conversation is not just about education. It's about 1,000,001 other things which need to be done, which thankfully he's following through.